Hello, everybody. Wondering if you can hear me. Hopefully you can. Funny if you can see my feet. I am doing this live video for the first time. Trying to do things just a little bit different. Okay, here we go. So you do see my head once in a while. I'm trying to make sure that you don't. But that may happen. Okay, so I'm going to test trying to make sure that you don't. But that may happen. I don't know if the sound is coming through the mic or the computer, but here we go. So I have these new awesome graduate kits that you can buy. Look at my feet. That is hilarious. Anyway, when I do the final video and put it on YouTube, I'll crop out my feet. But we're going to put this here. I'm not necessarily going to be able to see all your comments. I will try. I just have to get where I can see comments. So, anyway, bear with me. I'm going to be a little bit new at this. But I'm going to go ahead and get our paint. I'm going to see if you see my head when I lay around. It's funny that you see my feet. I can't get over that. Maybe I can move it up a little bit. And the back of my wadded up hair. That's great. I wonder if now you see my head. Let me try that. Put my head right in front of it. We're testing it out today. If you're here though, don't be shy, say hi, because you might actually be able to help me out just a little, just to troubleshoot things. Testing it out today. If you're here though, don't be shy, say hi, because you might actually be able to help me out just a little, just to troubleshoot things. Testing it out today. If you're here. Okay, cool. So you can't see my head, and I can be comfortable. That's good. All right, so in the graduate kit, everybody gets gets white. So I'm putting white. I like to put it across the middle, and that just helps make sure that I always have white to use and I always have clean white. You will get a kit similar to the one like this, but it'll have all the colors. As you can imagine, I do a lot of painting. So let me just get out my kit here. So for this one, so when you get your graduate kit, you're actually going to you're gonna have individualized personal instructions, and it's gonna tell you the paints that you need. So the paints that we're gonna use for this are gonna be red, which I'm actually gonna go ahead and pull out both of my reds. So we're gonna have our two reds, and we're gonna have our yellow. Okay. And then we're gonna have our brown. Pull out brown, and we're gonna have blue. So in this case, it's a light blue, but we're gonna add white to it. So we're just gonna get the blue we have, and then the skin tone is white, a tiny bit of red, and a tiny bit of yellow. But this is gonna be in your kit, so we're gonna use this a little bit more for our skin tone. And then we will end up needing our black. So I'm just going to pull those colors out from your kit that you get. You're also going to get 3 paint brushes, actually 4. So I give you this big extra one, and then you're going to have 2 fine line brushes and a medium brush. And I like to use a mason jar or a jar, something that you don't want to use in the future because the paint is permanent. So I am going to go ahead, and then you also have your napkin that is for you to use to clean your brushes. So I'm going to go ahead and just put my paints aside here and get started. You also have white. It'll be in your kit. Mine is out. And in fact, I know that many of my kits have used paints. Let me see. Yeah, I have one here that's used, so I'm just going to use it first. The struggle is real. Okay. So we're going to go for our background first. The background on this is a light blue. If you want to change it a little bit, it says it's light blue, but you guys, I can't help myself. I really want to add, I like to have more of like a teal background, so I'm going to go ahead and add blue and some green, and then I'm going to do blue-green background. That is just my favorite. So you have the paints in your kit. You can choose what you want your background to be. Okay. And what I'm doing right now is I'm following the instructions that I have written. So we're going to mix a little bit of blue with white. And I'm going to go ahead first and just use the medium brush. And I'm just going to dip a little bit of blue, a little bit of green, and just kind of start mixing a color that I like. And at this point, I think I might just go ahead and just mix it and let it be swirly. Swirly is okay. Things don't have to be perfectly the same color. But what we're going to do is we're going to use our medium brush and we're going to paint around the edge of our graduate. First, this is a nice color. So we're just going to go right around the edge of our graduate. And you really want to go right up to the line. If you leave a gap, I don't even think we need the big brush. If you leave a gap, then it's gonna be a problem later when you put the graduate back on. We want to overlap our graduate just enough. So I like to just cover the line. Sometimes I don't want to see the line when I'm done. Sometimes these sublimation lines will pop back through. So I want to be accurate like the next day. Sometimes you can see them. If that happens, then you can just outline them with a marker. But I'm just going to be very exact and go ahead and go around the graduate. But I mean, while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and just carry my paint. But remember, we're getting rid of that line. We don't want to see it. No one needs to know it was pre-sketched. It's still equal amounts of talent to paint a person. Goodness. So I'm just going to pick up some more of my paint. It kind of changed on me. Did you see that? That's okay. You can mix all of your paint one solid color if that's what you want to do. But I can just blend it too. Now, since it is so different, I am going to go ahead and mention that we should carry our paint around the sides of our canvas. When you do this, it just makes it nice and it gives it a really nice finished look. And this is something you're going to cherish forever. So since I didn't do that right then, and then my background color on my brush is different, it's not going to match really well. So I'm just going to whisk along in here. And I'm just kind of doing wispy, like X motions. So when you do this, it helps blend. So let's go ahead and paint all the way around the edges. I'm going to go ahead and I got off camera there, I think. Carry it around the side just so I don't have to worry about it later. We're going to have to remember this when we add our graduate. Hopefully my head is not in the way. So, I'm going to put I just put my hand right in the paint. Isn't that great? That's okay. That's how you know you're creative. You're going to have a handful of paint and it's fine. Okay, so I guess I said first we're going to go around the graduate, and then I have gone all over, and that's okay because you know what? That's what it's like. You're an artist. You just do the parts of it that hit you in that moment. But when your colors don't match up, we want to do some little wispies to make them blend. Honestly, it would be easier for you guys probably if you just mixed your full color solid. But I'm now I want y'all to see what's happening right now. When I do a long, when I want that crisp edge between two objects, I do a nice solid stroke. Nothing sketchy. If you're sketchy, you're going to get a sketchy line. So in this case where I have a blob, it's a little bit thick, I'm going to start inside on the clean, swipe out. I got that paint on my finger, and then I can get rid of that. And it's okay that I went over the graduate a little bit because I'm going to bring her back in front. Okay? So I'll just paint right over that whenever we get to that point and straighten the line up. So now I'm starting to run into some detail areas around her cap and her gown and the tassel. So I'm going to switch to my small brush. And I'm going to go ahead, watch for these little areas and fill in your background. So I just got a little bit of paint and I'm just going to paint that in. And again, don't panic if you go over her. This is the time when it's okay to accidentally go over the line or even to do it on purpose, because really at the end what we want to do is we want her to be painted kind of back on top of the background, so she will then be in front. Nice. Looks pretty good. So I might look around and just find some little, ooh, that's a different color, isn't it? Aha, this is what I'm here for. This is why I do a tutorial, so you can see what not to do. I decided to touch up a little spot, and guess what I did? I made myself a bigger problem because of very different colors of paint. Now, I dropped my brush down in my water without cleaning it, and that's going to save me, because now I'm going to take it out, blot it, and then I can blend this back in because I have that color. It's much more similar than what I had on the other brush on there. So the moral of the story is it's a background. Don't try to make it too perfect, because when you have a blended background, the more that you mess with it, the more you're going to create a spot that probably doesn't match too well. As I tell you this, I am doing it anyway, because if you're an artist like me, you don't listen to anyone else, and oftentimes we don't even listen to ourselves. But we do what we do, and we live and we learn, right? So I think this looks pretty good. You're going to let your background dry. Make sure that when you're not using your brush, that it is resting bristles down in your pail. I'm going to be honest, though. I'm looking at a spot right here, and I'm not super sure if right here, if that is... Is that her gown, or is that the background? This is the question. So I'm going to pull this up on my computer and just take a little look. Oh, I think it's definitely just a dark part of the gown. So on your kit, graduates or graduates family, whoever's painting this, you're going to notice that I gave you a cartoon face and I gave you an example, excuse me, of a painted face. Also, in your kit, you're going to have instructions and you're going to have a QR code. And when you scan that QR code with your phone, I can't do that because my phone's recording right now. You can, it'll take you to your personal individual album for this graduate. And it's going to have these examples and a link to this video, which is not going to be specific to every graduate, but it's going to have a link to your instructions and all kinds of things. So with that, I have taken a look at it and I see that that area is definitely part of the gown. So we can move on, but I could make it background, but we're not because it's not what it is. And so now what we're going to do is go ahead and move on to our gown and our cap. And with this, if you have one color red, you can, mix your red. But if you have two colors of red, you're being spoiled. And we have two colors of red, so we're going to use them. So I'm going to get those on my plate. And you'll see that our two colors of red are very different. This one's almost a brown. I'm going to go ahead and while we're here, give myself some brown for her hair. And I see that in my example, she has some light spots in her hair. I'm thinking I probably should have got a different thing of paints because I'm opening all of these. I'm just going to squirt out all my colors here on my plate. Oh, the yellow is already open. That's good. Okay. And I'm going to leave the black. Alexa, turn off the ceiling fan.
Okay.
Alexa, turn on the ceiling fan.
Okay.
Okay. So we are now going to go ahead and we're going to paint our cap and gown. And I'm going to just clean off my brush by switching it off, drying off. It'll still produce color. Switch it off, dry it off. When you switch between colors, and then you can scribble it off on your apron. And in your graduate kit, you get your own custom apron with your name on it while they last. So I'm going to go ahead and paint the, when I'm looking at the cartoon version right now, and I see that the front of her cap, I think I'm just going to use this small brush. To make these shippable and just doable in a small amount of time, I went ahead and I did these on an 8 by 10 canvas. And I'm usually used to painting a little bit bigger, so I might have gotten overzealous. So you may not end up having a big brush in your kit. I don't think you need it. But there are some shadows on this. And so I'm going to just kind of look at that crayon version. Okay, it's going to be your easiest one to follow. Your end result will look a lot like the painted version of the examples that I gave you, but it's easier to see where you need to have differences in color and things like that on the cartoon version. Okay, because what I see is that she has bright red lining the rim of her cap. And then the rest of it is
Person detected at
this
doorbell.
darker red.
Person detected at doorbell.
And so, and if you go, I'm just painting the edge of this into the background. Because I want to go over the background and make sure that it brings her back to the front. So now I'm going to dip in. Oops, absolutely. Okay. The red, it says it's red, this color. It's not very red. But I want this to be darker. I want to make a middle kind of color of red. So I'm going to mix my bright red with that. And we're going to put that color in here. Keep in mind, anytime that you're painting something that is one solid color, it's never just going to be a solid color because of light. So I always want to look for dark darks and light lights. And sometimes you can be painting something that's red and have like a white on it. And it's all because of the differences in light. So I'm going to paint these little sections. And I want to show you a little trick. Right here, my brush is just not pointy enough, so I'm going to twirl it. Okay, and if it won't get pointy, then switch to your other smaller brush. Also, another way that you can get a darker red, you can mix brown with it, but I prefer to darken my red with blue. And actually, red and blue are how you mix black. A lot of people don't know that. So I'm going to make a little bit of a darker spot of red. You can see that. And I'm twirling my brush because I want it to be pointy. Because right in here, I want to have a little line. I know, I need to finish this little spot, and that's okay, I will. I just dipped back in the other color. You could color these with markers. So I'm going to actually do this part just a little bit darker. And I did that by just dipping where I mixed the blue and the red. The hat is in multiple little sections, and it would look weird if we made it all one color. Painting around the tassel, I had to stop talking so I could focus. Just a tad bit darker. You'd be amazed what just a tiny bit of difference in color of your color will do. And then I'm actually going to go over the tassel a little bit because I don't want it to look like I painted around my tassel. I can put the tassel right back in front when this dries. And it'll look really good. Okay, so right through here is also just a little bit darker. So I'm going to just add a little bit of blue again to my red. To my red and my brown. Oh, y'all can't see my palette, can you? Oops. And I'm just going to go ahead and paint these sections just a tiny bit darker. And that's a shadow. I love it when my brush is the width of the line I need. I take full advantage. And the shadow gets wider on this side. I'm going to see here where there's a little gap with the back little corner that I missed. We just want to make sure that she's painted all the way. And I'm going to go even into her hair. That's okay because I can bring the hair back in the front. I do a lot of this swishing of my brush like this. I clean it. See how messy my plate is? I'm just going to go ahead and put another coat on this red. The bright red won't cover too well because it's mostly pigment. I'm okay. I didn't clean my brush. I'm okay with some of the extra colors coming out because remember, it would never be just one color. But there is a little bit of a line. I'm dipping in some blue. I'm making a darker blue and red. There is a line that goes right through here from the point of the cap. And then it comes right down to this point. And there we go. I think we have her cap done. We're going to wait and come back and do the tassel. So I'm just going to go ahead and I see there's some shadows up here on this part. I'm just going to make this whole section one color. Remember, I'm not too worried about painting over her hair. So my strategy when I'm painting is that I always paint the things that are furthest away from me in the world first. And then that way, as I paint the other objects on, I can paint them in front, which will make them look authentically 3D or whatever. It makes it look more real. So that's why I'm doing the gown, and then we'll do the other things. Like the sash is in front of the gown, so I'm going to do the sash last. A lot of people would say, well, why would you do that? Because that's going to be white, and this is going to be red. Well, white will actually cover up red very easily as long as your red is dry. So I'm just going to continue to paint, and her face will be the last thing that I do. And her hair. So we are going to carry on. Is somebody watching? Let me see. It looks like one person's watching. Let me see if there's any comments. Say hello. Oh, okay. Okay. So I am now going to go ahead and paint the rest of the gown. I think I need some more bright red because I'm probably like this. Oh, that's the wrong color. That's brown. What did I do? Whoops. That's a lot of brown we got for this one. We're not going to need all that. But I am going to need a lot of red. Honestly, you guys, I probably always use more paint than I should. But it's okay. So now I have some dark on my brush. I'm just going to go ahead and decide that this entire section right here is the bright red. And I'm going to do my straight line, crisp edge strategy and load that brush heavily. Now I see where my crayon mark started. So this means I have plenty of paint. This means I'm out of paint, that crayon mark. So I reloaded my brush and I will just reapproach that line and I'm going to carry it down nice and solid. And then I'm going to lift this up. My canvas is stuck a little to my fabric here. And then carry it around the bottom. And I'm just going to paint this whole little section in my sketch bright red. Notice there I was trying to fix something and I made a new bump. That's okay, but just be careful because the more you try to fix things, sometimes the bigger those problems can get. Okay, so thank you for that. My little dog wanted to hang with me. So now I'm going to mix just a little bit of, it's the darker red that looks brown, and just make this section just a tiny bit different. Each of these little sections in your sketch on your gown, just mix it with a different color to give it a little bit of a difference. And that's going to help you capture the flow of the fabric. So this section, I'm just going to do that color, carry it around the bottom. I have a family member blowing their nose. I hope you can't hear it. Okay, so then I'm going to switch back. And notice I'm really not cleaning my brush, but each time I'm getting a nice amount of fresh paint. Okay, when you're painting, you really need to make sure that you're using fresh paint because you're just going to get a better result quicker. So that, I went back to bright. And then now I'm going to use some of that dark brown and just blend in some of the dark brown into a section of my palette, and then just make this little area darker red. And I like that that is darker. I'm going to put this section, it's similar to the one next to it. Carry it on around the bottom. And that looks like it has finished off her arm. Nice. And just, you know, you can just see how the different reds really, like, it just makes it look a little bit more real. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do the other arm. And on this one, I'm going to do it a little bit opposite and say that the majority of it maybe is darker because there's a shadow. I don't know. You can decide. I can promise you this. No one looking at your artwork's going to be like, hey, that light is not in the right place. Okay, this is not a, we're not in school. It's fine. And a lot of times I gave it up a long time ago, much to the chagrin of my art teacher probably. In my professional art life, I gave up trying to stress about the light. Honestly, if we just trust ourselves, usually we'll pick the right color. That's the way I see it. And I do see that I had some sections here, so I'll just go ahead and make this one brighter. I got kind of wrapped up in that and wasn't paying attention. Put some bright red in this section. And I just added a little bit of darker brown here to make that section stand out. And then I'm going to pick this up, wrap that right around the bottom. And then I have a little section right there. I'm going to go ahead and mix kind of a medium color. And you can paint right over the hair if you want. And then that way you can bring it back in front later. But I'm going to leave it there so we don't forget that there's a little wisp of hair. And I'm going to clean off my brush because it is really full. And I just see over here that I have some spots where my paint wasn't covering, and I just am filling those in. And then right here, I want to make sure that my shoulder goes into the hair a little bit, so I don't end up with a gap there later that is hard to fill. There you go. Nice. I'm going to go ahead and pretty much, I think I'm going to switch to my medium brush to paint the front of my gown. So we can do it quickly. We don't need to overthink this. It's the nice, solid gown color. On this one, I am going to just paint right over the hair. I can still see it. And we will add it back. And you'll note that this bright red, it doesn't cover super well, so you may have to put a little brown with it or put another coat on later. Hey, can you remind them that I'm painting live and that they can close their door or dial it down? Okay, so I'm just going to mix a color, just a mid-red. Made quite a bit of it so we can get this entire section painted in. And then at the end, I just want to make some solid, smooth strokes. I just hit my head on the camera. I hope that didn't mess it up. Carrying my art around the bottom. And then I'm going to smooth these strokes out. And I'm not stressed about getting red on that area because I will straighten it up with white. Nice. Okay, so I am going to share this video really quick. And let this dry just for a second. They're so loud in there. Who knew that college students would revert? Oh wait, my kids are in college. They already graduated, and here I'm talking funny about it. We love our graduates. Okay,
Person
so
detected at doorbell.
I need to mute my Alexa. Oh my goodness, you guys. I was trying to share this with another group, but it's not cooperating. So don't be shy, say hi. Hey David, is it David watching? We're gonna get started on the tassel.
Person detected at doorbell.
Can you do me a favor and turn the volume off of the Alexa over here? Can you just grab her and just hit mute on the top? Because it's fine, but it's like every time we come in and out of the door, it's pretty loud. Okay. We are going to clean our brushes really well. Her gown looks good. I'm excited. Just clean them really, really well. We check and make sure no one has tried to join this group. It's just on the top, hon. You just hit the volume buttons.
There's no volume.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to encourage you to figure that out.
Got it.
Okay. So let me just make sure nobody has tried to join the group because I've been sharing it. Okay. All right. So I think we're good. Carrying on. Are we ready? Ready, ready. We have to let this stuff dry, and so this is like a good time to take a little break. And I'm also just double checking my instructions as we go. All right. So we are going to get our So on this tassel, ironically, this one doesn't say 2025. Whoops. I think I might have put the wrong image on here, but we can add it, so it's no big deal. So I'm going to go ahead and dip in some white for this tassel. I'm going to make sure the tassel is bigger. And then I'm going to go ahead and streak some white across, and we're just gonna go her colors of this graduate school were red and white. All right. And I think I'm going to do white down the other side because that's going to help me clean that spot up. And then we'll streak red down the middle. And of course, everyone's tassel colors are different. So I had one graduate that was red, white, and blue. We have one graduate who is yellow and blue. I would say in a yellow and blue scenario that I would recommend that you paint the yellow first And in a yellow and blue scenario, the yellow is made up mostly of pigment, so it won't be very easy to see it. So in this case, the gold on the tassel up here, I'm going to use this color. And it's like that yellow ochre. Let me see what it's called. Let's see what it's called on the tube. It is called yellow ochre. So I'm going to make the little ball here yellow ochre. It just looks gold. And then we can add a little bit of white to our yellow ochre for the little lines, for the little bracket. I'm just going to do 2 lines, keep it really simple, where it attaches to the tassel. You can even do a little highlight on it if you want. And I'll whisk that off. And I'm going to do a straight line of red. And then I ran out of paint, so I'll redip and start from the bottom and then just pull some red back up. So we have some little red spots in our tassel. You can even streak some little lines along so it makes it look like that there's more than one streak of red in our tassel. They don't have to be solid lines. And I probably should have done the tassel after the hair, but it's fine. Everything's fine. Okay. So we are going to carry on. And if you do get a sketch and it does not have your 2025, I will do this at the end, but because we want to make sure this is dry first. Okay. And then in the case of a logo like this, I am going to paint white around it. And so maybe I'll just do that now. Also, it is nice. You can use a hairdryer. Really, her skin would be the next thing we would paint here because it's the furthest away in the world. But I am going to go ahead because we have this logo to paint. I will say you have 2 choices. If you're not feeling very confident about your logo, this one is very detailed. So I am tempted to paint over it, but I'm going to go ahead and leave it, and then we will paint it in. There will be a picture of the logos in your QR code photo folder. Just rub it on that to see if it's dry. So you can see what your logo looks like. See how that white covers this red right up. Watch it. Watch that. It's awesome. Now, if you do this and it's not dry, then you're going to end up with pink. And that's not ideal. But if that happens, you can wipe it off. Use a wipe it off. Or wait till it dries and then you can cover it up. You can get a hairdryer, run to the bathroom, dry it off, and then come back and paint it. And I'm making sure that as I get over here close to the logo that I'm using just a very little bit of paint. So it's painted, but I can still see through it. So I'm just going to put that layer of white down so we can do the logo later. Okay, carrying on. We are now going to paint her face. And we're going to mix our skin color. So everyone's skin color is different. This graduate, her skin color is light, so I'm going to add some of this yellow ochre and some white. Okay, and then you can sit and mix the skin color. That yellow ochre and white really does make a pretty good skin color for most. Obviously, some it's going to be more brown and then white. It's your choice. I put a little bit of brown with this just to make it look not yellow. We don't want it to be yellow. Okay. Your personalized instructions will tell you how to mix your paint color, or your skin color. But keep in mind that, that you're mixing it and you know what your skin color is. So just make sure that you mix it until you like what you see, but you can add a little bit of red to it. You can add, more brown. Okay. It's just, that's going to be customized for you. So I'm going to do her neck. And there's some dark here that is going to be places where I'm just going to leave that open because I'm probably just going to paint it black because it's a shadow area. So make sure you look at your cartoon image and see if you have any dark colors, like what color are those? And then that way you know what to paint it. Because that's weird. Like, why would we have black here on her face? There's no black. Because it is like a really deep shadow. It's just one of those examples. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and paint her face. But I want to make it a little lighter, I think. So I'm going to add some white. I do know that there's some darkness over here and there's light over here. So right here I went over in front of the cap a little, and that's okay because I can go back and touch that up later, but I'm making her face a little bit lighter so because it would be lighter than her neck. Her neck has a shadow on it. Remember, this is a painting, not a photograph. So give yourself grace. Everybody gets nervous. One more painting on the face. Nose. I'm going to actually pull just a little bit more color in for the nose. Nose is going to be a tiny bit darker, and I don't want to lose it. So I'm going to go ahead and just add a little bit more color to her nose now, so I don't lose where I'm at. And then I can go back to my lighter colors. Now, sometimes the sublimation, I mentioned it earlier, pops back through the next day. And that's actually kind of nice because then it can give you the opportunity to go and marker on some details. So I do see that she has some, that's a little bit too strong. If you do something like that and you don't like it, wipe your brush off and then pick it up. See there? Clean off your brush and pick it off. Clean off your brush and pick it off. See there? Don't panic. A lot of times we try to fix mistakes with more color, but really we just need to get rid of what we put on there and just scribbling off. I'm scribbling off my brush in my lap. Look at this. But I'm going to do just a little bit darker color for this right side of her face, right near her hair, based on this crayon, or the cartoon. image that I have there. It's a shadow. And then I'm going to go back to the light color. And I'm going to go right over those eyebrows. We'll put them back. Right over the eyelid. We'll put it back. The features of the face are going to be very simple. We're not going to overthink them. Because it's a painting, not a photo, yes? Say yes. We're giving ourselves grace. We're going to clean that off. I think it looks pretty good, actually. I'm going to take a little sip of whatever I have around to sip. Okay. I also see that there's a shadow on her neck in my cartoon image. And so, you know, like you can decide if you want to do it or not, but I will just so we can show that. It kind of goes, it's a little bit darker. Kind of goes along the line here. And then it's going to go right under her chin. That's a darker line than I'm doing. And then there's this shadow. Little shadow. That helps her face pop. Very nice. Clean off my brush. Okay, so I see a little darker divot under her chin. Oh, that might be too dark. Whoa. Scribble off and pull it off. Or use a wipe. Okay, it's gone. Much lighter. Let's find a lighter color here. A little bit there. Same color. We're going to do our little dimples here. And we're going to leave these because these lines are there. And once we're going to trust the process. And once we, I like this color. I'm going to keep going. We're going to trust the process because a lot of times these lines might seem a little bit shocking. But once we add all the other features, it's going to make more sense. So we're going to use this color to kind of go around the nose. And I just have all these different little flesh tones on my plate, and I'm just kind of picking them based on what colors, pockets. I'm looking for pockets of color that I see. She has a cheekbone that is pretty prominent right there. sometimes I just add a little bit of water. Earlier my shadow didn't look like it should be that much. There's a little indentation over here that's going to accent her cheek. And I made this a little bit too sharp, so I'm just going to kind of look for the lighter color and fix it. There we go. I think that's a little bit better right there. All right, so it's looking pretty good. We do have some dark brown eyebrows. I make the line better this way. So I'm going to turn the canvas. Maybe. And I'm actually going to clean my brush and get it very pointy and just dip in this dark brown I squirted so much of that I barely need any. And I'm just going to do a little bit of a darker line here around the nose. Yep, a little bit. It has a little bit of marking there. A little marking there. We're going to end up outlining around the face, but we're going to wait until after we do our hair, and we're just going to use this dark brown. It's looking really good. So that's going to look good. I'm just getting a little visual of it. And then there's just this one spot here. I'll just let it dry. And I'll get rid of that little dot, unless I can do it right now. Sometimes I try to cheat. There we go. Got it. Very nice, very nice. I am going to go ahead and do the flesh tone color above her eye here. It looks like I forgot that. I added a little white to the tip of my brush just to do these little eyes. And I'm going to go ahead and white out her eyes for now. Because I will put the black dots to make people back and front. And which brush I have? I am going to put this tiniest line of the dark brown. It was like over her eyelid. And you do this by just getting all of your paint off the brush and then just barely dipping the very pointy tip of your brush only, so it behaves more like a quill pen. And if you get too much, it's okay, because we can blink that out with white later. It's your chance to shape your eyebrows how you want. I am going to go ahead right now, just because I'm feeling froggy. I am going to paint her lips. Sometimes I just want to finish and I want to see what it's going to look like. And that's where I'm at right now. So we're going to do the top lip just a little bit lighter than the bottom lip. And see, I got the brush very pointy. I'm going to clean it off and twirl it. Twirl it on your plate so you get a nice pointy line. I don't think her lips were bright red, but they are today, and everybody gets to do yours differently. And after I add this darker red, I can always go over it with like 2 little streaks to get it to make it lighter. So the bottom lip I'm adding with it's really like second red color with nothing in it. Sometimes I forget where I dipped. Let's see. You don't always have to use an easel. They're very fun, and but most of us don't use easels. Ooh, I like how a little peek of her white is there showing through. I'm going to leave it so it looks like teeth. And I don't even have to paint them. Fun. And I do see that hers is just a little bit less red. So I just put a little bit of yellow ochre on just to lighten this up a little. You can always mix a little, oops, I keep hitting my head. You can always mix a little yellow ochre and red together and even some white with it to make a more rouge color. So white, red, yellow ochre, and it makes a nice rouge color. That's nice. Okay. And I may touch on that just a little bit later. But for now, I notice she doesn't have quite as much of a peak there. So let me flatten that out a little. Okay. So, what now? I think we're ready for hair. I usually always do eyes last. So, I do see something with the eye, but I think I'm going to wait till at the end. And so what I see is that on this cartoon drawing, these hairs are dark, and then there'll be a light one here and there. So, I am going to dip in this one. I'm going to put a streak of, this is a good color for blonde, the yellow ochre. I love to have hair just blend a little. So I'll try to do a whole streak like at once. I'll probably mix between these two colors, just kind of make a brown blob. And some of this other, I don't know, I'm going to stick with these two colors. And I'm just going to streak this down. We don't have to overthink this, you guys. And remember, this is hair, so it can go right in front of her face. It can go in front of anything that we want. And so now I'm going to pick up some white, put it in here. Let's see, I want to see some of this lighter color come out over here around the tassel. I just let that streak go right in front of everything. And you can even add streaks that aren't there. It is hair, so we're not going to stress about it too much. She has a big curl down here that went in front. And you can make these streaks as big or as little as you want. Mine tend to keep, they're encompassing like 2 or 3 of the lines, it seems. And then right here along her face. I'm not going to do black. I'm just going to do this really dark brown. More like it's hair. See how I turned my brush at the end here? So these are pointed. So instead of streaking down and running out of paint, I'm going to start down here with heavy paint and streak up. And then now I'm going to just add a little bit of a medium color because these are all matching just a little bit too much. So let's have a little darker, add some white to it. So they're not all one color. I don't really like this one out here. I feel like it should be darker. There, I like that better now. I can even bring the tassel back in front if I don't like how that ended. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and get some white, and I know we have some lighter streaks. White and my yellow ochre here just to make this a little bit lighter. Twirling my brush off on my plate there. I'm going to do just a yellow ochre streak. And then it went really dark right here. And again, I'm just using that crayon or the cartoon version of her painting. Just helps me see like the pockets of color. And I just find it easier to paint from that version. Now, my brush is just not pointy, so I'm going to clean it off because I'm starting to make a mess. Get it back to pointy, and then that way I can carry this color up just a little bit along her face. Clean off the brush, And most all of this was very dark. And I do like to get fresh paint for every stroke when I'm doing hair. I'm going to wipe my brush off on my paper towel, pinch it, pull, get it pointy. Because I wanted this one just to be a little more controlled. There we go. So now I've dipped in yellow ochre. And I'm going to streak this through here. And the hair there is done. I'm loving it. I think it looks great. I just have one little blob here I don't love. I want to streak it a little bit better. There we go. Nice. Okay. And I think I just want to do one little touch up here and just blend this a little so it goes right into the cap. Oh, that's seamless. There we go. And I'm going to add a tiny light spot right here just to fit. About just a little. Very nice. Okay. Moving back to our sash here. I want to make so there were some darker lines around her face, and I'm mixing just a little of this dark brown with the lighter. And maybe it's not the best time, but I'm going to prop my hand with my pinky here and just do a little line around between her neck and the sash. Oh, I missed a spot on her hair. It looks like I put background here, but really her hair is all in there. Always looking and watching. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a 2025 up here and then bring the tassel back up front. So the 2025, if yours is not sketched on, then I think her cap is dry, so it's like a 2025. Okay, or I can just do a 25. I think that's all I'll do. A 2. And a 5, and then I will outline this in black, probably using a marker. And you can put yellow on there so it looks more gold. But if you use yellow, like I am, you've got to put some white under it or mix with it because it just will not cover very well without a little white base to it. And once we are done with this, I will go back with a marker and outline that 2-5 and it'll just make it pop. Okay. Clean my brush. I'm going to streak some white down and go in front of the hair. Bringing the tassel back in front of the hair. And I've been wiping my brush off on my, I always keep my napkin in my lap. So you guys can't see it. You can see I'm constantly cleaning my brush off. I wonder if there's anybody watching. I don't think so, but it's fine. Okay. I'm doing these in this group because my VIPs get to have the tutorials live. Okay. I think that brought the tassel back in front. Now to this crest. Let's look at that, shall we? I know the crest, so you're gonna take a minute and go look at your folder if you have a logo or a crest or something like this. And then that way you can see what it is supposed to look like. So I'm just going to pull that picture up here so I can look at it. And basically it's all white except for an outlined kind of bird here, but I am just going to put an idea that there is a bird. I am not going to do all of the detail. They are the cardinals, this graduate. The cardinals have a fluffy tail. Keeping in mind, you do not have to put the crest on, but I think what I'm going to do is pretty much, so I'm going to add some water to my red right now. And that's going to give me a little bit more like it's ink. Now you could go over this with marker. You do not have to use paint for everything, but I am going to continue painting, and we're just gonna give homage to the fact that there's a crest there, but I'm not gonna stress about it too much. But using the wet, so I just dribbled a little bit of that water in the red, and it is helping me have a thinner paint. This little bar right here says Cardinals. I'm not going to paint that in. This is a ribbon. I'm not trying to be very technical about it. This has like a very light blue, in all irony, and I have some light blue right here. So this little this is the name of the town, and it's in a light blue color. But that little band is outlined in red, of course. So let's do some little outlines. But on this, you are not trying to paint an embroidery. It's not going to work. So we're just giving the idea that it's there. And then these are little vines. All in red. And there's like a little section there. I don't even know what this is. So I would just leave it kind of like that. Now, I am going to take my, if you have a Sharpie, that would be good. My Sharpie's pretty pointy. And I'm going to go ahead. Let's see, I'm going to expand this. And then her eyes are very brown. So we're going to use this dark brown and put her eye color right here. I'm not currently unavailable, sir.
You want drink?
Oh, always, but I think I have one. So she has very brown eyes. Well, that one got really big. That's how it goes sometimes. Let's just make them both big. Why not? Because it's a painting, not a photo. Right, my friends? Say yes. Okay, now we put a little black. Oh, I decided to wait on the black, didn't I? So a little bit of black for, I always wait to use the black because we always need it to be fresh, because it's always a detail feature. Sorry that I hit this. I keep hitting the camera with my head. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom in on these eyes so I can see them really well. And what I see is I'm going to do the same thing I did earlier. I'm going to dribble a little water and just touch it and let it make an ink for me. And then when you do that, you want to wipe off your brush because you can't have a lot of really runny. Okay, but now I can get my brush really pointy and just dip the tip in the water. And so I'm going to go ahead and just run this along. And do the top of her eye. And it kind of goes off into her lash. And then we are going to roll off the brush so it's back to pointy and dip in the really light. And you're looking at that cartoon or the coloring page. One thing I see is a little bit of the dark brown we used earlier in the corner of the mouth right here. Just to give it a little bit of a point. I'm just looking for. Okay, I also see. You guys can carry on, it's no big deal. But you shouldn't do that when I'm live. Oh my goodness. Are you good? Everything fine there?
Yeah, fine.
Who did that?
That would be me.
Are you serious right now?
Yeah.
Oh my word. You look crazy. This is gonna live on YouTube. And then I'm going to use the handle of my brush and do a white dot in her eyes. Whoa, that one got strong. So we're going to pick it off with our brush. Not get too much white there. Goodness gracious. Let's try that again. And maybe I'll just use the tip of my brush instead. And with that, my friends, I believe we have painted our graduate. You can do some little touch-ups here and there. But I'm pretty happy with it. I'm going to see if my 2.5 is dry. Let's see where I can put my hand. And you can sign your artwork along the side. I like to sign along the arm. Make sure it's very, very dry if you're going to sign. And I will turn it and give it like a full signature. And then I like to take my brush and put my initials. And you can decide how you do your initials, but since the 3rd grade, my initials have been a TLH, like that. And with that, we have painted our graduate. I think this is an amazing kit that I have available for you guys. I customized the whole thing. What was I going to do? Oh, her nose looks a little bit wiggly. A little bit of a strong thing. There you go. So, oh, and there it looks like I just looked at the nose, and I can just continue doing this. It's kind of funny, but there's like a little bit of light on the tip of the nose. It's almost fully white. you can start to look around for little areas of light if you want to streak in. But I wouldn't do too much. Just like it and love it, and congratulations. You've painted yourself. And we have a fantastic graduate kit available. It includes your paints, your brushes, a custom apron. Hey, Jim. Hold on, let me mute this for just a minute. I'm going to show you what comes in the kit, shall we? Hun, can you hand me my kit so I can show it on the video? I can't move. I can't move. Can you hand me the kit over there? One of my kits? Move quickly. I'm on live, please. Give me the female kit. Because it's the one I just painted. So, all right, let me show you the kits and what comes in it. Let me scoop this back just a little. So here is the, here's the way your kit comes. You have your plate. There's the big brush I'm going to take out. And surprise, a fun easel in there. And then we have a fabric apron for you with your name on it. And an entire kit of your paints. So all of that, plus your customized instructions, comes with our graduate kit. So make sure you go to funartclass.com and get yours today. Thank you so much for painting along with me, and I hope you have a blessed day. We look forward to painting with you again soon.